May Flaum here, and I'm really excited that you're joining me here today. I am going to be showing you how I love to make masks and custom stencil designs using my scan and cut machine. It is so much fun, and you really do not have to be good at drawing to get some really fun designs to use on any paper crafting project. And to show you just how simple it can be, I will be walking you through a tutorial for this Father's Day card full of inky fun and details. Let's go ahead and get started.
When designing your own stencils, you will need some kind of paper to write on and a thin and bold permanent pen in a dark color. There are two methods to creating your own designs by hand. Either work on scrap paper that you scan in and cut out of different material, such as cardstock, plastic, etc., or work directly on the paper you intend to stencil on. If you are unsure of yourself, begin with a thin pen and sketch what you would like, then go back with a bold pen and fill it in. This will also work with a pencil. Just remember there is no pressure. Just doodle and see where the design takes you. Don't try to think too much about perfection. The thing is, imperfections are what will make your designs more interesting in stencil form. Especially if you are creating a background or finishing touch design, just give yourself permission to play. If you are going to use the paper you are working on as your stencil, I recommend covering it in tape so that your inks and other mediums are not going to soak into the paper and ruin your stencil quickly. Using a piece of plastic material is also always an option if you have it available. As you can see from my video, I am just letting myself doodle. I am relaxing into drawing, and that really helps. Just remember, if all else fails, you can always start over. This is where working with pencil would be a good idea as well. For this project, I decided to make two very different stencils. For my star design, I wanted to also make some dots. Do note that your dots will need to be big enough to actually scan and cut. Tiny dots are not going to work. If you want to do that, you're also going to need a small hole punch or paper piercing tool to make those tiny little circles. My second design is trees. I adore camping and wilderness, and I don't have any stencil designs. So I just decided to try to make myself some simple pine trees. I made these two trees similar, but different sizes and fall far enough apart so that I can use them separately while having them on the same piece of paper. The bonus to this design is that the tree part will also work as a mask, so this design is both stencil and mask. Once your designs are made, it's time to bring the scan and cut machine in. As I mentioned before, there are two methods to do this. The first is that you can place your material on a cutting mat and select the direct cut option. The machine will then scan in your design, and once this is done, you can review, make any adjustments needed, and cut. I always like to look at what adding a bit of an outline or border will do. Sometimes there is an improvement. In this case, I want to just directly cut with no outline whatsoever, no border. What I absolutely love about this is that in no way would I call my own creation perfect, and yet I know this is going to make a great stencil. Now let's take a look at my star pattern. This time we're going to do scan to cut data instead of direct cut. This is good if you want to scan in a design you created that is not on the material that you wish to make a stencil from. It is also good if you would like to resize, save, or otherwise edit your design. Once the design has been scanned and recognized, you are able to do any kind of editing that I just mentioned, as well as save to your machine or a USB drive. I like to save these designs to my machine, and then I can go into the pattern, save data, pull up the design, unify the pattern, and add, edit, resize, or otherwise prepare it for cutting. Once satisfied, load a cutting mat with the material that you'd like to cut, adjust your blade, and let the scan and cut do its magic. Now that we have both stencils cut, it's time to get inky. You'll need some dye ink or spray mist to apply, and I recommend having a few shades of one color as a repeating monochromatic pattern is really striking. As you can see, repeating the process of using a foam blending tool and dye ink lets me build a rich background and a forest of trees, if you will. With each added tree, I am able to decide if I'd like more, where I'd like the tree placed, and which size. You can also see that the placement of my two trees makes it easy for me to add them one at a time. The next step is to stamp your sentiment with embossing ink and then coat with black embossing powder and heat set. This will add dimension and shine to your project. If you do not have this, you could add a sentiment sticker or simply stamp with plain black ink. Next, take some watercolors or other fluid color mediums and use a paintbrush to flick some droplets all over the paper. If using watercolor paper as I did, the result will be fantastic splatters. If desired, ink the edges of your white cardstock with green ink. This adds a bit more color and also helps soften the feel. No card of mine is complete without a pass through my sewing machine. So, once I have mounted this 3.5 by 5.5 inch white cardstock onto a 4 by 6 inch folded card, it is into the machine. A simple straight stitch set medium stitch length does the trick nicely. All done? Not quite. I added a few more trees for added impact, as well as some twine and 2 embellishments at the top for balance. The final step will be to take my star stencil that I created and some yellow dye ink and add a few fun details. It really adds another layer of depth and dimension to my design.
I hope you have enjoyed my tutorial for this fun card, and be sure to stay tuned because I will be back with more projects, tips, ideas, and more. Happy crafting!